Chapter 6. Long time no see. An hour or so later, the entire team is in Prathia's office. Maxim and Gabe have secured the Ghost on the landing pad and joined the rest of the crew. Benny is in one corner of the room, touching things that Prathia has already said not to touch, at least twice now. And Gabe is doing his usual stand in the corner quietly thing. Will puts down the cup of something like tea that Prathia has offered him. So, Prathia, no offense here, but you called us for a reason. And while this has been fun and all, and I'm glad you and Z have reconnected, he leaves it hanging there as she lowers her own cup. She sighs.
I'm afraid I can't tell you a whole lot. What I can tell you is that it's serious and could have big repercussions for the GC.
Oh, that doesn't sound ominous, Will says.
One of our long-range probes picked up something.
She continues.
Something big. Really big.
Benny turns around, leaving off poking at something that looks expensive. This sounds interesting. He comes over and hops on the arm of the chair Maxim is sitting in. Maxim glares at the small Braylac, then looks over at Zephyr, then Prathia. A big something. Like how big? What is it?
A ship.
Will leans forward in his chair. A ship? Whose ship? How big are we talking? Peacekeeper Command ship big? Where? Prathia shakes her head.
Bigger than that. Beyond that, I can't say, not yet.
She raises a hand as Will opens his mouth to interrupt.
Partly because I don't know the answer. Partly because it's too dangerous.
What do you mean a ship? A big ship? Where? Like a colony ship or something? Benny is leaning forward on his perch.
A few light years beyond the border, at the edge of the Sargul Nebula. We're not sure exactly how big. There's too much interference. We picked it up, and when our probe scanned it, it scanned back. Then the probe went offline.
Prathia reached over to a terminal set in her desk, taps a few buttons, and a hologram appears over it. The image is grainy, but Will can see what looks like a ship outlined against the orange and purple haze of the nebula. With nothing to serve as a point of reference for scale, it's impossible to make out its size. But however big it is, it's certainly mean-looking. Along its sides are several ridges, with weapons emplacements evenly spaced along their length. Massive engines fill the entire aft section. The forward section is long and rounded. Prathia looks at the holo image.
We need more time analyzing the data. To analyze the images we captured.
Benny can take a stab at it. Gabe, too, Will offers. Has it done anything else? Moved? Scanned the probe again or anything?
Like I said, after a probe scanned it, it scanned back. Then the data stream from the probe stopped. We started to analyze the data from the scan. The ship is, as far as we can tell, made of an unknown material.
She looks around.
We need to get this information somewhere else. We need to get it to the corporate office. That's why I called you. It's not safe here.
Will and Maxim both tense, and Zephyr looks around. What do you mean not safe? Maxim asks, his hands resting on the butt of his pistol. Prathia raises her hands.
I don't mean right now. You're safe as anyone here. The secret is just too big. It can't stay a secret. It won't. We have to move the data archive out of this facility, off this planet. Farsight Corporation can secure it, investigate the ship, and send a team. It'll only take one technician letting this slip in a comms to their family, and every government and treasure hunter for light years will swamp that nebula.
Your entire staff knows about this? The ship that it scanned you? Will asks, standing and walking over to the hologram and leaning to peer more closely at it. Prathia shakes her head.
Not all of them, no. Once we realized what we were seeing and detected its sensor sweep, I compartmentalized it, senior staff only, and only those who were in the room at the time. That's still 15 people, though. It's only a matter of time until one of them mentions it to other staffers.
Zephyr, who's been sitting quietly during this entire exchange, looks at Prathia.
Why, yes. You didn't answer Will earlier. Surely Farsight could send a ship or a dozen ships to collect you and this data, get it safely to the corporation.
Prathia smiles a sad smile.
I'd have to tell them the truth about why I want the escort. I knew you'd come without any details. Farsight wouldn't do the same. The company is very conservative.
She looks at each of them in turn, then simply says,
Please.
sightseeing. Several awkward conversations about Farsight, the Harrith incident, and somehow Braylek breeding again. Later, the team is sitting in a large cafeteria with Prathia, Murta, and two senior scientists. The rest of the staff appear to be elsewhere.
So, you all are the ones who stopped the peacekeepers from invading the Harrith system,
Jorlu, a 2.5 meter tall Burzot, asks, as she eats some type of porridge like substance. Her pointed ears twitch as she watches Will and the crew. Her pale skin is pulled tight over bones and rope like muscles. Benny nods vigorously.
That was us, all right. You should have seen it. We blew ships up. Everyone was shooting at us. We blew up a huge peacekeeper ship. Will was flying like no one's business. Well, that is until the ghost got shot to Wurin, and we crash landed on a planet in a huge fireball.
Will glowered behind his cup of that same tea-like drink Prathia offered him earlier, coughing a little. Yes, well, he starts, but Benny keeps going, somehow making the parts where the ghost is nearly blown up and crashes take twice as long to tell as the fight leading up to that. Jorlu seems completely entranced with the story, her 3 eyes wide and unblinking as she listens to Benny's version of events, her ears sticking straight out to the side. Her companion, a short fur-covered being named Zan, seems less impressed. When Benny winds down, somehow ending his version with him leading the repair effort of the ghost, Zan asks,
So when are we going to the ship?
Jorlu blinks rapidly, then looks at Zan, then Prathia.
Yes, when do we leave?
And what do we do with it when we get there? Murta asks. He looks around the table. My people could make good use of a ship that powerful. It could restore the balance of power in the region. He looks at Will. They wouldn't need to resort to paying privateers, no offense. None taken, Will says, smiling his most insincere smile. Prathia puts her utensil down and looks around the table.
I don't know if we should go to the ship at all.
She raises a hand to silence Berta and Zan.
What will we gain? We've got the data from the probe. That's more than enough to get Farsight to send a cruiser.
And what? Farsight gets a warship that rivals a peacekeeper command ship? Why? What's to stop them from turning it over to the GC and the peacekeepers? It could restore my people to power in the region, Murta growls. Look, Murta, I get your point. I see your people a lot. But they've no claim on the ship, Will starts. Murta stands up, pointing at Will. And what? You'd take it? Sell it to the highest bidder? Sell it to some criminal?
We could sell it to Harrith, Benny chimes in. I bet they'd pay a fortune. We'd easily buy the consortium off and then some.
Sell it? Murta screams.
Murta, sit down, Prathia says, resting her hand on his arm. No one is selling it or giving it away, or doing anything with it. We don't know anything about it yet. It's idiotic to make plans for it when we know so little. Then we should go. Check it out, Zan pushes. Jorlu nods. If nothing else, we can gather a lot more data to turn over to the corporate.
Prathia looks at Will, then Zephyr.
Would you take us?
Will nods, but not for free. Murta growls as Prathia nods.
Of course.
Then lower under her breath.
Pirate.
Always something. The next day, Prathia announces the rest of her research staff that herself, Jorlu, Zan, and Murta will be leaving on a small exploration mission. She explains that they have hired the crew of the Ghost to provide additional security and fast transport to take them to a new scientific discovery. It's a flimsy story, but most of the researchers don't even look up when she's addressing them, faces still focused on their pads. When released, most hurry back to their labs. The team and their small gaggle of scientists walk out of the facility, heading for the Ghost. Jorlu looks down the pathway towards the ship.
That's it?
She looks from Prathia to Zan, then to Will.
That ship? That's the one we're going to travel in?
Her pace slows down. Will looks up at Jorlu. What do you mean, that's it? The Ghost is a fine ship.
Especially now. The ship has undergone extensive repairs and upgrades after being nearly destroyed.
Gabe chimes in.
More than once.
Will turns to his friend. Phrasing! The group resumes walking towards the Ghost, the three scientists looking over the ship as they approach. Every set of eyes is squinting. In the lounge, Will gestures to the kitchenette and seating areas. This is the main crew lounge. He gestures toward a hatch. Down that way are the crew bunks. We tend to eat most meals together. You're welcome to join us as often as you like. He walks towards the hatch that leads to the bridge. This way is the bridge. You're welcome to pop in, but it's not a place to hang out. As the hatch opens, he turns to Gabe. Gabe, can you show them around while I get us underway?
The bot bows his head. Of course, Captain.
Turning to the group of scientists, who are poking at the furniture experimentally, Will hears him say,
Please follow me.
Will is only halfway to the bridge when his wristcom begins to vibrate the emergency pattern. Computer, status report, Will says, increasing his pace toward the bridge.
We are being targeted by a ship in orbit.
Zephyr comes up from behind him at that very moment.
Did it just say we're being targeted?
She doesn't wait for the answer, sprinting the rest of the way to the bridge. By the time Will gets to the bridge, Zephyr has the pre-flight checks almost done, and he can feel the repulsors powering up. How long? He asks, falling into his seat.
10 more syntax.
She looks up from her station, waiting for Will's instructions. Hail them. She nods, and Will hears the telltale beep to indicate an open comms channel. Hi there, mystery ship in orbit. Our sensors are telling us that you're targeting us. That's a little rude, don't you think? The primary display comes to life, showing Ziggy Stardust. Not an alien that looks like David Bowie, but like the actual David Bowie in his Ziggy Stardust get-up, lightning bolt and all.
Will Calder.
Ziggy Stardust, Will counters. Space Ziggy Stardust blinks twice, then looks off screen at something or someone, then turns back.
I am Kohar. I am collecting the bounty on you and your crew. Power down your ship and surrender now.
That didn't take long, Zephyr murmurs. Ah, I see. You think I'm this Will Calder person. I thought that was just how you greeted people. I'm not Will Calder, don't know the guy. Kohar blinks several times.
You must be.
Why? Because I'm a human? That's pretty racist, don't you think? Apparently, Kohar's Ziggy Stardust look is biological, since the lightning bolt actually changed colors as the bounty hunter blushed. Off to the side, Zephyr holds up 3 fingers.
No, not because you're human. Well, not just that. That ship's transponder is broadcasting as the Ghost, and yes, you are human.
He grins, having escaped being thought of as racist. Oh, I see. So humans can't have ships named Ghosts now because of one person's actions. Will works up a good angry face. I mean, how is that fair? Maybe I had this ship before this Will Calder dickhead went and did. What did he do anyway? On his console, Will sees all the ship's systems coming online. Repulsors are ready to go. The atmosphere engines are primed. On the screen, Kohar is back to looking uncomfortable.
No, that's not it at all. Of course other humans can have ships named Ghost. That'd be ridiculous if they couldn't.
Will nods.
Will Calder is wanted by the consortium.
For what? Isn't he that guy that saved the entire Harrith sector from a war with the Peacekeepers? A call from Zephyr makes him glance over at her. He and his awesome, and as I understand it, amazingly capable crew, that is.
Well, yeah, that's what I heard. But that doesn't matter. The bounty on his head is huge.
Will cuts him off. How huge?
They just raised it to 3 million credits for the ship and its crew.
Will whistles. Damn, for that much, I might turn myself in. Though on a per-person basis, that's not very much, especially when you factor in the Ghost. I mean, you can't buy an Uncaran Raptor for 3 million. I think they're being really cheap. You should demand more. Kohar is nodding. Then he catches on to the entirety of what Will just said. Wait, what? You are Will Calder. Yup, Will nods, and Kohar is replaced on screen with the view directly in front of the ship. He grabs the repulsor controls and slams them to full power, at the same time that his other hand throws the atmospheric engines to half power. The Ghost lurches, leaping from the landing pad on its repulsor lifts, as the Atmo engines fire up with a boom that shakes the whole ship. Maxim enters, grabbing the nearest piece of the ship to keep from falling backwards. Trouble, I take it? He asks. Myrta is right behind him. Ziggy Stardust is trying to kill us, Will says through gritted teeth, as the ship screams away from the research station. Maxim looks at Zephyr, who just shrugs. The past. Zarex is sitting across the table from Will. They are at his favorite bar again, the privacy screen active and shimmering.
Your little screw-up nearly cost me my entire profit margin.
Sorry, I'm not Rambo or MacGyver or whatever. The reptilian crime lord makes a clicking sound.
Who's Rambo? Who's MacGubber?
It's Mac. Zarx raises a clawed hand.
I really don't care. The issue here isn't your weird human colloquialisms, it's your lack of useful skills.
Will grimaces. That hurts.
The truth does. My intel might have been incomplete, but if you had any type of experience as a smuggler or spy or anything for that matter, you'd have been able to get out of there without costing me so much.
He picks at a plate of what Will first thought were noodles, but now sees are actually worms with tiny faces. Tiny, vaguely human faces. Will is staring open-mouthed at the plate as Zarex grabs a pinch of the worms and drops them into his mouth. He looks up, feeling Will's eyes on him. What? Will shakes his head and looks away, as one stray human-faced worm is slurped into Zarex's reptilian maw.
Here's what we're going to do. I have a connection on Worgon Tor who can do some brain stuff to you.
You can fuck right off. Will starts to stand up. You're not doing, and I quote, brain stuff to me. I quit. I'm out. Whatever.
Oh, calm down, Pink Skin. It's not what you think. They can embed training and skills into your brain. After the procedure, the skills and knowledge will begin to surface, like regularly acquired skills. It's like going to training without going to training.
Will sits back down, grabbing his drink. Okay, that sounds kinda cool. Can I learn Kung Fu? Maybe pilot a helicopter?
What? What's a helicopter? Wait, no, I still don't care. You can acquire muscle memory or anything like that. It's more knowledge and know-how.
Will nods. Okay, sure. I'm interested. Where is Worgon Tor?
I'll send the coordinates. Your ship should be repaired by the end of the day tomorrow.
He reaches over to deactivate the privacy screen.
And don't screw up.
Love you too. Will stands to leave, grabbing his grum, and heads out into the bar. As he passes, he glances over at the bartender and immediately looks back to the door and keeps walking.